Walter Model was one of Germany's most formidable generals during the Second World War, known for his defensive brilliance, his fierce loyalty to Adolf Hitler, and his stubborn determination to hold ground even in the face of overwhelming odds. He rose from modest beginnings to become a field marshal, commanding some of the most crucial operations on both the Eastern and Western fronts. His life and career reflected the contradictions of a man who was both a tactical genius and a deeply flawed human being, trapped in a war that demanded absolute obedience and impossible sacrifices. Model was born in 1891 in Genthin, a small town in Prussia. He came from a middle-class family, not aristocratic like many other officers in the German army. His father was a schoolteacher, and that background gave him a sense of discipline, order, and a belief in hard work. From a young age, Model was ambitious and determined to prove himself through ability rather than privilege. When he joined the army in 1909, he entered an institution dominated by tradition and social rank, but he managed to stand out through sheer competence and intensity. Those traits would carry him through both world wars. During the First World War, Model served as a young officer on the Western Front. He fought in the trenches, saw the horrors of modern warfare, and was wounded several times. His courage and resourcefulness earned him the Iron Cross, and by the war's end, he had established a reputation as a capable, hard-working officer who could keep calm under fire. The defeat of Germany in 1918 hit him hard, like many others in the army. The Treaty of Versailles stripped Germany of much of its military power, and Model, like many officers, stayed on in the reduced Reichswehr, determined to preserve what was left of the army spirit. Through the 1920s and 1930s, Model climbed the ranks slowly but steadily. He was not a charismatic figure, nor was he one to cultivate friends or political connections. Instead, he built his career on efficiency and technical skill. He was known for his strictness, his intense work ethic, and his lack of patience for incompetence. When the Nazis came to power in 1933, Model was not an early supporter of Hitler, but he adapted quickly. He was not interested in politics, only in the army and the business of war. Still, his willingness to serve without question and his reputation as a capable commander soon brought him to the attention of the new regime. When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, Model was a senior officer on the staff of the Army High Command. His analytical mind and skill in coordinating complex movements made him valuable. During the campaign in France in 1940, he again proved his worth as a planner and tactician, but his greatest talents lay in command under pressure, and soon he would have the chance to demonstrate them. In 1941, as Germany launched its invasion of the Soviet Union, Model commanded a division on the Eastern Front. The campaign was brutal, fast-moving, and unforgiving. Model's leadership was decisive and energetic. He was known for his presence at the front lines, often appearing in the thick of battle, rallying his men, and demanding absolute effort. He was not a gentle leader. He could be harsh, even ruthless, but his soldiers respected him because he shared their hardships and never asked them to do what he would not do himself. His division performed exceptionally well, and by 1942 he was promoted to Corps and then Army Command. The Eastern Front was a nightmare of extremes: vast distances, freezing cold, endless fighting, and staggering losses. It was here that Model earned his reputation as a defensive specialist. When other German generals wanted to retreat or withdraw to preserve their forces, Model insisted on holding firm. He reorganized shattered units, built improvised defenses, and bought time in situations that seemed hopeless. In 1942, during the Soviet counteroffensives near Rzhev, Model's leadership prevented a complete German collapse. His success in stabilizing desperate situations made him one of Hitler's most trusted commanders. Model's relationship with Hitler was complex. The two men were very different. Hitler was ideological and impulsive, while Model was practical and grounded. But Hitler admired Model's toughness and his refusal to give up ground. Model, in turn, understood how to manage Hitler's expectations. He flattered him when necessary, and presented himself as the loyal soldier who would carry out orders no matter what. This loyalty earned him the nickname Hitler's fireman, because he was always sent to extinguish crises wherever the front was burning hottest. In 1943, Model was given command of the Ninth Army during the Battle of Kursk, one of the largest tank battles in history. Though the German attack failed, Model's army held its ground under tremendous Soviet pressure. His defensive skills again came to the fore later that year, when the Soviets launched massive offensives to drive the Germans back. Model managed to conduct orderly withdrawals, saving thousands of men and equipment that might otherwise have been lost. For his performance, he was promoted to Field Marshal in March 1944, one of the highest honors a German officer could receive. By that time, the war had turned decisively against Germany. The Red Army was advancing from the east, while Allied forces landed in Normandy in the west. Model was moved repeatedly from one front to another wherever the situation was most desperate. In mid-1944, after the catastrophic collapse of Army Group Center in Belarus, Hitler appointed Model to take command and restore order. Against all odds, Model managed to rebuild a functioning defensive line. His ability to impose discipline, reorganize forces, and create stability from chaos was almost unmatched. Later that year, he was transferred to the Western Front after the Allied breakthrough in France. There, he commanded Army Group B, tasked with defending the Ruhr and the Rhine. It was in this role that he oversaw the German response to the Allied airborne landings during Operation Market Garden in September 1944. Model's quick reactions and instinctive understanding of battlefield conditions allowed him to contain the Allied offensive and inflict heavy losses. Despite being outnumbered and short of supplies, he managed to frustrate the Allies' attempt to capture key bridges in the Netherlands. For this, he earned both admiration and fear among his enemies. But as the war dragged on into 1945, even Model's skills could not save Germany. The Western Allies pushed deep into the Reich, while the Soviets closed in from the east. His army was exhausted, his men starving and out of ammunition. Yet Hitler continued to demand the impossible. No retreats, no surrender, fight to the last man. Model tried to obey as best he could, but he also showed flashes of independence. When it became clear that continued resistance would only lead to pointless deaths, he sometimes ignored direct orders to fight on, instead negotiating local ceasefires or pulling his troops back to avoid annihilation. By April 1945, Model's Army Group B was encircled in the Ruhr pocket. His forces were cut off, surrounded by the Americans, and rapidly disintegrating. Thousands of German soldiers were surrendering, and the end of the war was only weeks away. Hitler had branded any surrender as treason, and Model, loyal to the end, found himself facing an unbearable choice between obedience and survival. He refused to order a formal surrender, telling his staff that each soldier must decide for himself whether to keep fighting. On April 21, 1945, realizing the situation was hopeless and unwilling to face capture, Model took his own life in a wooded area near Duisburg. Walter Model was only 53 years old when he died, and his death marked the end of one of Germany's most remarkable military careers. He had been a man of contradictions, brilliant yet rigid, loyal yet pragmatic, feared yet respected. He never embraced Nazi ideology, but he also never opposed it. His loyalty to Hitler was based on duty rather than belief, yet that loyalty tied him to a regime responsible for immense suffering and destruction. After the war, Model's reputation was debated by historians. Some saw him as one of Germany's most skilled defensive commanders, a soldier's soldier who did his duty in impossible circumstances. Others viewed him as a tragic figure who sacrificed his moral judgment for loyalty and pride. What cannot be denied is that his leadership saved countless German soldiers from destruction, even as it prolonged a war that could not be won. In the end, Walter Model represented the archetype of the professional soldier caught in a totalitarian system. He was a man who believed that obedience and discipline were the highest virtues, yet those very qualities bound him to a regime that demanded blind submission. His career showed the power of determination, but also the dangers of serving without questioning. His final act, choosing death rather than surrender, reflected both his sense of honor and the futility of the cause he served. Walter Model remains one of the most fascinating figures of the Second World War, a commander who thrived in crisis, who built defenses out of nothing, who commanded respect from his men and who remained loyal to his duty until the very end. His life and death stand as a stark reminder of the fine line between courage and stubbornness, between professionalism and complicity, between survival and self-destruction in the chaos of total war. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Walter Modell in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe.